Congratulations to Northern Ireland, because you are officially the happiest place in the United Kingdom. It might be your sense of or your faith, or your faiths, or your sense of identity, or your strong communities. Whatever it is, you are in a relatively good place on one side. On the flip side, you're in a bad place because you've been through 30 years of troubles. And how do you cope with that? You know, massive, massive pressures. You know, the Second World War lasted 6 years. You know, you've had 30 years. Is it the World Health Organization say that by 2030, mental illness will be the biggest health burden on the whole of the planet?
When we look at our mental well-being and our mental health, it does tend to be down the pecking order. 1 in 4 at some stage in our lives will suffer from depression.
But I think if you let your subconscious do whatever it wants to do, you're giving the keys to a stranger.
There's been a 500% increase in the issuing of prescriptions over a 20-year period. 500% in the UK. 9 million 20 years ago, 49 million today. Are we 500% happier? 32.3% of 15 to 25-year-olds have one or more psychiatric condition. That's a third. Well, you think of all the people that you know in that age group. These aren't statistics. These are people that you know. They might be your sons or your daughters or your grandsons. You know, how do we cope with that? Mindfulness can offer relief. The science has been proven. The science has been proven and accepted by the National Health Service, by the National Institute of Clinical Excellence since 2004. So the science has been accepted. It's got no known side effects, no negative side effects. It puts the individual in control. And it's cheaper in the long run than antidepressants.
I think many of us who have dealt with anxiety or depression, who find this new way they can participate in their own well-being and discover what a profound impact it can have. You get this kind of this desire to share and say, why doesn't everybody else know that this is going on?
The moment one gives close attention to anything, even a blade of grass, it becomes a mysterious, awesome, indescribably magnificent world in itself. It's about a mindset, it's about an attitude. And again, when Frank and I were talking last week, I explained to Frank that one of the things that does my head in about Northern Ireland when you listen to Radio Ulster News in the morning, it's not so much the politics, it's the weather forecast. And it's all doom and gloom and all negativity. Just as going for a run is a well-known way of protecting general physical health, mindfulness exercises develop mental fitness and resilience. That mindfulness could be like fluoride and teeth. Just so we fluoridate the water, or there's naturally fluoride in our water and you get better teeth. Mindfulness techniques applied broadly might mean better mental health in the future.
A mindfulness student asked a Zen master about practice, and he says, what is mindfulness? And of course, the Zen master replied, it's practice. And he says, could you explain that some more? And he says, it's practice. And he says, but you know, I just don't get it. You know, what really is it? And he says, it's practice. And I know that my teacher, a native of Belfast, a guy called Paul Hatter, who's been the longest serving abbot over in San Francisco Zen Centre, you know, I remember when I met him back in the sort of early 90s, he told me that he says, remember Frankie, you've got 2 lives. And of course, I wanted to know, being from Belfast, when to get my second life. And he told me, he says, you get your second life when you realise you've only one. You know, for me, the practice of mindfulness is about bringing the mind home. And I'm really pleased to announce with Jamie and with Chris, you know, and with Siobhan, how we'll be able to bring the mindfulness lunch home from Westminster to here at Stormont. The big honour goes to Siobhan, who a few years ago I met with in the City Hall, and who had the vision and she had the radical sort of approach as to bring mindfulness into the communities that they are, you know, aware already has established. And I thought myself too, looking back then, you know, what a great name, aware, and mindfulness is all about being aware.
And I was just thinking on the way in, you know, in terms of an issue like mindfulness, what a brilliant case study Stormont would be. You know, I literally thought about that, and I thought just that sort of knowledge of how you use techniques like this on a daily basis.
This is something which takes practice, as we've heard, and it requires quite a high level of understanding before you can share it with others. You know, it's a minute to learn, lifetime to master. We checked in a little bit earlier today. We kind of got a sense of what the mindful pause might be like, but that is only really scratching the surface.
A condition of complete simplicity, costing nothing less than everything. But everything is practice. Being here is practice. Going out to my car is practice. There isn't anything that isn't practice. It's a bit like looking up at the night sky and saying, which part of that isn't the night sky?
One of the things that's very evident in sport now is prehab. It's about trying to make sure that people stretch and warm up so that they don't go through the injuries that they may suspect they will go through later. So if you're going to spend any money in business on training your people to put things in and brick things up and everything else, why not help them train their mind a little bit? Why not help them invest in the most important playing field in the world?
My seeing things, I don't always see things as they are. I'm always seeing it through that filter of blue or red, or some shade of blue or red. But that's my own creation. That's what I've projected onto that. I've created that, unconsciously created it. And to me, what mindfulness has helped me to do is to just, dismantle that, decommissioning myself.
Noticing, appreciating just the tiniest things can help to rebalance you. The Viktor Frankl quote, between stimulus and response, there is a gap. In that gap you make your choice, and in that choice you make your freedom.